Hi everyone. So this is week 5 of our walk through Hosea. There are a couple of themes that come up in the passage this week, some old and some new. One of the sort of interesting things about the northern kingdom of Israel is that it remains a very religious place. Unfortunately, right at the founding, despite that sort of continued religious disposition, the object of Israel's worship starts to get muddied. And so when Jeroboam sets up the new kingdom, he immediately creates these two golden idols, one at Dan and one at Bethel, and says, Israel, these are the gods that brought you up out of Egypt. So he kind of starts to shift the object of Israel's worship, and that just kind of gets worse as things go on. They start to cobble together worship of these new idols with some religious observance to their Israelite heritage, with worship of fertility gods and Baals to secure good harvests, and then some more practical arrangements and treaties and payoffs to neighbors for their own security. And so they walk away from the simple faithfulness that we chatted about last week. But they still think that they are within God's will. And so in Hosea 8, verse 2, it says, "To me they cry, my God, we, Israel, know you. Israel has spurned the good, and the enemy shall pursue him." And goes on to talk about, how silly it is that they worship things made with their own hands. But I think the one theme for this week is I think we are absolutely at risk of taking some of God's word and then cobbling together a couple of other things in our lives to give us a sense of security, or to create something that we believe is going to bring us the sort of fulfillment that God promises us with a simple observance to His law. So we're going to look at a bit of that. The other thing is, these people believed that they were within God's will. They thought that they were still in God's good graces. And so what does assurance of salvation look like for us? And as Christians, can we have an assurance of our salvation? Does that mean that we always feel that sense of assurance? And what is Jesus' prescription for having the assurance? In a sort of mirrored way, Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 7 says that some people with even apparently fruitful ministries are at risk of not knowing God. And so we're going to look a bit closely at that, look about, what does Jesus say is required to know God, and how that ties into our discussion around God's desire for an intimate relationship with Israel, and how their failure to do that has gotten them into the difficult circumstances they're in. So I will leave it there. Go through the questions. Hopefully gives us some kick-off points for good discussion on Thursday. I've also included an article from the Gospel Coalition around assurance of salvation, which I found quite helpful as well. But we'll discuss more of it then. See you there.